When I stumbled into real estate and I saw this path, I remember thinking to myself, a knucklehead like me that used to smoke weed and got D's and got lucky and got out of my toxic environment and went into the military and manned up and gained confidence and started taking care of myself. And now I'm going to college and getting my shit together in life. And then all of a sudden I see this path and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I knew instantly, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Now, today on the show, I have the pleasure of speaking with one of the G.O.A.T, I should say, the GOATs of real estate gurus and investing here in the United States. I'm speaking with none other than Cody Sperber. Now, Cody has flipped over 1,000 properties. He owns over 750 doors to date, and he's developed over 100 new builds in the commercial real estate space over the last 20 years. He's also successfully exited multiple businesses and has over 6 different 8-figure businesses today. He's a guru, he's a coach, he's a top rated keynote speaker. So I'm really pumped and excited to have him on the show today to share his incredible knowledge with us. Enough of me. Cody, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing today,
Reed,
mate?
I deserve all of those wonderful words. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on.
Mate, my pleasure. And thank you for providing your time. This is the first time I've flown out to interview someone of your caliber. So thank you. I really appreciate it humbly. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier in the green room, the show's been going for a couple of years. We're going to have a great time with it. But the question I like to ask all my guests is to get the juices flowing is, can you rewind the clock and tell me how you made your first ever dollar as a kid?
Yes, I pee in the shower. Don't worry. Everybody does it, and it's fantastic. How did I make my first dollar as a kid? Stealing it from my parents?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would think that would be my first buck. I always kind of had a hustler mentality, but I was never really motivated until I was. Like if I wanted a scooter one time. And I went to my dad and asked him, hey, these scooters came out, and they had like gas-powered scooters. They were like brand new. And I wanted this gas-powered scooter. And I was like, hey, Dad, will you give me some money to buy this scooter? And he goes, how much is it? And I said, $700. And he goes, are you freaking nuts? What am I made of money over here? What does money grow on trees? All the things that parents tell their kids that, my parents never had a lot of money. So it was always a lack of money around my house. So he never gave me money. However, my dad was really smart. He would say, all right, if you want $700, how can you create the money? And I always thought that was a weird thing to tell a kid. How can we create? I don't know. I'm a little kid. Like, give me some allowance. Like, tell me what to do and I'll go do it. My dad never did that. He was always like, no. You dip away, come back when you got a plan and pitch me on something. And if we can come up with an idea to create the money, then maybe I'll get behind it. And so I left and I came back and I said, well, maybe I can, go around the neighborhood and, clean stuff up. He goes, okay, that's an idea. He goes, what else? And I said, well, maybe I can like sell candy at school or something. He goes, you're outgoing. Like, why don't we do candy? Go get a piece of paper, come back. And he had me actually draft a note, like a loan agreement. And I had to draw on it, draft it. Hey, I promised to repay my dad. He goes, I'm going to lend you $40. I'll take you down and buy some candy. We'll buy $40 worth of candy at whatever Sam's Club was back then or whatever. And you'll start a candy business. And so I signed the note. I got the $40. He took me, I bought a bunch of candies. I had the ring pops, the Laffy Taffies, the gums, all the different nerds and all that stuff. And I went to school and I sold it out of my backpack. And it took off. It was like, great, this candy business took off. And next thing you know, the principal called me in and said, Cody, if I'm hearing around school, you're slinging candy, you can't be doing that. And I said, dude, I've already made, because by the way, the first or second day I went to school, I sold out all my candy. I paid my dad back the $40 and now I have like 40 more. So I made like $60 or $70 or 80, but whatever I made, but I had enough to pay him back. And I just kept doing that until I had the business going. But anyways, I got within $400 or $500 I saved. Took me
Did you get the scooter?
Well, the principal called me in and told me I had to stop. And I said, listen, I am so freaking close. Like, you have to let me go. And the principal said, as long as you promise to quit the day you get the money for the scooter, I'm good. Mm-hmm. And so I convinced the principal to let me go. And I ended up earning enough money to get the scooter. And my dad took me to buy this scooter. And he said, Cody, lock this thing up. Don't let your eyes off of it. Nobody in our neighborhood has stuff like this. Like, yeah, Dad. 1 week I had that scooter before it got stolen. That was it.
Oh my God.
1 week.
What did your dad do? To give a kid like that, that's an unusual story. Most parents of, we're probably similar age or, thereabouts, like they come from a different mindset, working class families. They probably didn't go write me a note. Here's $40. Like, what did he do? How was?
What's funny is back then he was just a worker. That he worked in the schooling business. He was in the executive side of people who wanted to go to learn how to fix refrigeration units or go to a roofing school or stuff like that. So it wasn't coming from some place of knowledge. It was almost intuitive in him of hey, the world's not going to just give you things. And I also think he always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but he never could, and he never did. He was always scared to take that leap. And it's great because later on in life, once I got in high school and I was graduating, that's when my dad finally started his first business. So it happened for him much later in life.
What was it?
I took those lessons. It was VCR repair, some small business, and that turned into computer repair, and
That's awesome.
He ended his career, owning a business that did computer and data recovery and stuff like that when computers got big. But it was great for me because it taught me those entrepreneurial lessons very early on. And my dad's been my number one guiding mentor in my life by far. I've had two great mentors in my life that have really moved the needle for me, and my dad's definitely one of them.
I was reading your background. You were in the Navy, and then went to ASU down the street here, and then got into, somehow you discovered no money down real estate. Is that right? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah, when I was in college.
Yeah. How did that come about? Because not many kids in college are doing no money down real estate at that age.
It was luck. It was pure luck, man. Pure luck. Arizona is a great central hub. And in the United States, there's 3 major places for hotbeds of investor activity: Arizona, Texas, and Florida. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time where wholesaling, this concept of no money down real estate, was really big. And there was a bunch of people doing it. I didn't know it existed, but a friend of mine named Jeremy, we were going to college, and we used to party together and chase girls and stuff. And he never had any money. He was like me, I just came out of the military. I was now going to college. I didn't have any money, and neither did he. And then one day he pulls up in a brand new Mercedes, and we went to lunch, and I was like, dude, how'd you get the car? He's like, oh, dude, I flipped a house. I made $80,000. I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean flipped a house? And he goes, yeah, I flipped a house. I'm like, how'd you buy a house? You don't have any money. He goes, oh, you don't need money. I'm like, bullshit. What are you talking about? You don't need money. I'm like, do you have a real estate license or something that I don't know about? And he's like, no, you don't need a license. You don't need money. You don't use your credit, blah, blah, blah. And I said, what do you mean? And he literally pulled out a napkin and penciled out wholesaling on a napkin at lunch. And I did what anybody would have done the first time they ever heard of this. I said, bullshit, this is a scam, or you never going to do that again, or whatever I was thinking. He goes, no, I got another one coming up here in a couple of weeks that I should close, and it won't be that big. I got really lucky on my first deal. It was a huge deal. This next one will be $7,000, but I used no money again. And so back then, you got to go back 2003.
Yep.
There's no YouTube University. There's no gurus online or any of that stuff. It is infomercials.
Yep.
Old school infomercials.
CDs.
And books and tapes and CDs and boot camps and bus tours and stuff like that. But to get to the education, you have to go to the back of a newspaper and see a little ad that would say, real estate seminar at the Sheraton Airport Hotel put on by whatever guru was flying in town. And so I looked at that napkin for a couple of weeks, and I got more pissed as I tried to figure out what this was, and I couldn't find any real information. And then I realized, I went back to him and I said, how did you figure this out? He said, a mortgage guy taught me how to do this, that learned a little bit of creative real estate investing. And I said, I want to talk to him. So I went and talked to that guy, who turned me on to the whole infomercial guru space. I started flying all over the country, buying books, tapes, courses, and all that stuff. And I just want to say to anybody who is just starting this journey, that beginning part is so scary. You're getting on a plane. You don't know anybody. You're buying a ticket. You're buying a thing to an event. You're going to an event. You're sitting next to strangers. And then there's this slick sales guy that has the best stories, and they're parading all these testimonials up on stage. And I was the kid throwing my debit card or credit card up on stage. They had me every time. I was such a sucker because I saw real estate as my path. It was the first time in my life I ever got excited about anything like that. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. but I got really seasick in the military. So I was like some, I'm a dumbass from Arizona who joined the Navy and gets on a ship and throws up all over the place. And then when I was getting out of the Navy, I went to talk to I thought maybe being a history teacher or professor would be a great career. And I went and talked to those guys and I asked them one simple question: are you happy with the money that you make? Or how much money do you make and are you happy with it? And they laughed and said, no, I got a second job. This isn't a career you go into to make a lot of money. And so when I stumbled into real estate and I saw this path, I remember thinking to myself, holy shit, a knucklehead like me that used to smoke weed and got D's and, got lucky and got out of my toxic environment and went into the military and manned up and gained confidence and started taking care of myself. And now I'm going to college and getting my shit together in life. And then all of a sudden I see this path and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I knew instantly, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's
interesting that you mentioned CDs and books. When I first came to the United States in 2012 and it started the era, but the whole access to information here in the US compared to other countries, particularly coming from Australia, I remember going to my first Real Estate Investment Association event and they're all over the country, right? Yeah. So anyone who's listening to this, you don't have to do a back of the napkin, a back of the newspaper like Cody did. You can literally go on meetup.com and find in your local area people who are playing cash flow game, anything to do with real estate, just to get yourself involved. And there's still those seminars at the Sheraton near the Arizona airport that feel as seedy as hell, but they are, great.
It's like an intro.
Yeah, like a fertile ground to starting, and you're an example of it, right? And I think that's what I'm trying to, a lot of people probably hear that stuff like, oh, I don't like going to those events, or it seems salesy, it seems pushy.
Nowadays, you don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff.
Right.
You can go online, there's Facebook groups, there's online groups. Right. There's this is when I hear people complain nowadays about like,
too much.
It's tough for them. And I'm like, get on a plane and fly to Denver by yourself.
Right.
And go to some, seedy airport hotel.
Yeah. And to learn. But I admire you for all of that. Are you still wholesaling today?
Yeah. We just wholesaled 3 houses last week. It's like it's not as big of a business model as we used to have. I got 3 or 4 people in my wholesale department. I've had evolutions where it's gone like this, where I've had 10, 15 people in our wholesale department and it's gone down to one of us. And then right now I got about 3 or 4 people that are actually working it. And then me and my business partner, Bryant, who own the company. So I own 3 main real estate businesses. I own a wholesaling company, I own a development company, and then I own a buy and hold.
Yeah. No, the reason I ask that is because, again, look back at history, wholesaling has always been a thing. It's always a great starting point for people getting started, not knowing where to start. I remember looking at that when I first got started. It didn't really attract me because I wanted to be the buyer and owner. But you can do it in any market cycle, and it's not going to ever go away, whether you're listening to it on CDs or you're looking at a Facebook group or you're looking at it on YouTube or on TikTok today. It's still fundamentally there that you can go and negotiate with someone about a deal, tie it up, and sell it on for a profit later on.
Here's what I would say. If I could go back and do it all over again, I'd start trying to learn how to wholesale commercial. Because that's where we all want to go anyway. You just don't know it yet, right? When I first started, I looked like I was 15. I had no money. I'm like, way out of my league. I have no connections, no successful people in my world. I don't know what I'm doing. I had massive imposter syndrome and all this youthful enthusiasm that I'm going to go be a real estate billionaire. So naturally, I defaulted to the thing that I thought I can accomplish first, which is a little house, little ugly house. Let me flip that thing, dude. What Jeremy did. If I can make 5 or 10 grand, that'd be amazing. And that's where I started. And the challenge when I look back is I got really freaking good at that. And I did thousands of those transactions. And I made tens of millions of dollars. But if I would have not got tunnel vision because I got so good at it and I just stayed in my lane, that I never even considered for many years looking over to commercial. And that's one of my biggest regrets is I wish I would have jumped over to the commercial thing way, way earlier. Because if you're going to you're still going to go through a learning curve. And if you're going to go for something, go for the biggest deals you can.
It's easier said than done, right?
Well,
because think back to...
Not if I know a guy like you, though.
Right? No, but think back to young Cody and all of us, like with the imposter monster in our head about like, oh gosh, I don't have enough money to go to $22 million commercial deal. I need to start with a $50,000, wholesale deal and, somewhere in Arizona. I think it's all about mindset, but I do understand the idea of what you're getting at. And I know we're talking in the green room before we got started about the sort of the tunnel vision. And I now want to sort of segue into what you've built today, because I think it's really important to touch on the history, but also the evolution of what you've built. Because I think that the amount of people I interview on this show, it's about starting the wholesaling. It's about getting to success. It's then about pivoting at the same time and riding that wave as an entrepreneur. So can you give us a bit of an oversight? You mentioned just briefly, you had 3 real estate business companies, but I also mentioned in the intro, you had 6 8-figure businesses. What does it all look like today in Cody's world?
Yeah. So, once I got good at wholesaling, then it naturally went to rehabbing. And then I started a development company and we started building from the ground up. And then, you kind of, a savvy entrepreneur or business person always looks at the initial transaction and takes a look at like all the other transactions that happen around the initial one. So like when I buy or sell a piece of real estate, who else is making money from that transaction? Well, you got title companies, you got lending companies, you got renovation companies, and you got insurance companies. And so I started like going, okay, well, why don't I own all of those things? And I started verticalizing, and I was buying a tremendous amount. Wholesaling specifically is a data game. It's the person that has the best marketing capabilities to get themselves out in front of potential motivated sellers first. And it's normally the person that can get to the best deals first, gets the best deals, and can scale their business. And so I was like, okay, how do I do that? And even though it's changed over the years, the data was always the main component. It's like, I got to get lists of people in distress. So maybe pre-foreclosure. Like I just got a list the other day of everybody in Arizona that's 30, 60, 90 days late with their credit scores attached. I'm not even allowed to talk about this kind of stuff, but this is like the data game that I'm in, where I'm thinking about like, okay, how can I outmaneuver all my competition? And so we started buying data, and then we started a software company, and now it's really cool because it's got AI. We built AI in about 3-4 years ago. People are just hearing about AI now. I've been using AI for 3.5-4 years to lead score every single homeowner in the United States. There's 2,000 data points. I look at every single person in the US, whether or not you live with your mother-in-law, what magazines you read, what airlines you fly on, whether or not you filed an insurance claim in the last couple of years. And all these data points, there's data banks out there of like all your websites you visit and your daily activities. And so it's like we can track cell phone usage and where you drive, from where you start and your routes every single day, to figure out like if this commercial piece of real estate, you're going to drive by it, like where the flows of traffic go. Because a lot of times if you don't have that data, you assume certain things and then you put it up on a map and AI does its thing and you're like, oh, I'm on the wrong side of the road. I need to be over on this side of the freeway. That's where all the traffic flows. So anyways, I started lease scoring, first the homeowners, and then in the commercial space, the property, the homeowners that own these, and I gave it like a credit score almost. The higher the score, the higher the probability and propensity that somebody's going to sell at a discount within the next 90 days. So I gave it a wholesale score, a rental score, and a retail score. And we built that into our software, and that gave us a competitive advantage. Now it's getting better because AI gets smarter. Every time there's a transaction done, it's evolving forward. And if we have, let's say, 25,000 users of our software and all that data of, if you think about a CRM, it's like, hey, I start here and then I end with the completed deal. The system recognizes like, oh, that data we fed it has moved all the way through the lead flow to the end. Right. And therefore it gets smarter and better. And we got about a 16.9 times lift on our marketing compared to people who don't have it.
Wow. And is that available to the public or not?
Yeah, it's called the Deal Automator. And I'm not here to pitch anything. I don't care if you guys buy it or don't buy it. But dealautomator.com and the website.
It's interesting. Again, I've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs on the show. To your point of who's making money around it. How can I make my business better and more streamlined through using data of what I'm already doing? Because there's so many other, now with AI, there's so many other people who $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year for all these different CoStar and RealPage and all these other things that you could go and disseminate yourself and put into your own business. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And we got commercial data in there. We got lean data in there. We have all kinds of different data packs you can buy once you get the software. And I had a guy on my podcast the other day, the Clever Investor Show, and his whole niche was, and this is big in Texas, was broken chains of title. And so he would just find these like maybe land has been in the family for 200, 300 years. So like some long time, and it's passed from generation to generation. But now that chain of title is like totally fudged up, and there's 40 family members and they're kind of fighting over this probate deal. He'll go in there and use our lien data to figure out who these parties are, get to them, use his attorneys and his skill set to fix it, and then buy it at pennies on the dollar. So there's all kinds of funky niches out there that you can use once you have the data.
Moving into the next round of sort of what it looks like for Cody, we mentioned, you want to tell the listeners like what you're now focused on. You just mentioned a new business to me that you're now launching, but what does the ecosystem now look like?
Yeah.
Wholesaling, tech company, development company, buy and hold.
Yeah, so we got a wholesaling company called Sell Quick for Cash, and it's doing, between, I would say realistically, 5 to 15 deals a month. It's not major. It's just kind of chugging, doing its thing. We were heavy the last few years in spec development in luxury new builds. My development company is called Green Elephant Development, and we were building these beautiful spec houses. The building game in residential, it's one of those boom busts, right? It's like when times are good and interest rates are low, you make a fortune. And we had 26 new builds going. These are all $3.5 million spec builds in Phoenix and Scottsdale, Arizona. And we were making, between $400,000 to $600,000, sometimes $750,000 a house. And it was great until it wasn't. And then all of a sudden those $600,000 profits go to zero. And now you're just like, okay, we got to protect the football, get all of our private lenders their money back and not get our ass kicked on these. And thankfully we did not get hurt on any of our new builds, but the last 7, we made no money on, and on all 7 of them. Like 20 grand, 30 grand, like when we were thinking we were going to make 600 or 700, like those profits evaporated quickly. And I feel like we got lucky. We just sold our last one. We were building for about $240 a square foot for the level of luxury that we were building
including land.
I'd have to ask my business partner if it was including land. We were paying so we had a niche. So we were paying like $700,000 to $850,000 for an old house. Tearing it down and building a 4,000 square foot, either modern farmhouse, or the last few we did were like these really cool contemporary 2-story houses.
Yeah, no.
So I'd have to ask him. I think so, maybe.
Yeah, so trying to think.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Not too,
doesn't seem like it. 240 seems cheap.
But I think you're going somewhere with that, because I think that, and I do want to get your thoughts maybe later in the show on where the economy's going. But I think that the evolution. So what are you focused on now? But I know it was a cool thing we'll talk about.
So we've been building these for the last 5 years, these spec builds. And we saw about 2 years ago when things started changing in our wholesaling business that we're about to go into a down season for single family housing development. So we shifted hard over into commercial about 2 years ago. And right now I have about 6 big commercial projects, which I'm really excited to be kind of burning the residential bridge and just moving as much over into the commercial world as we can. We started a new company called Hungry Investments. I also am in the process. I've launched one fund so far. I'm on my second fund right now. We're just about to launch it at clevercapitalfund.com. It's a $50 million equity fund, and it's going to be able to allow people to participate in a lot of our big commercial deals. But I got a 67-acre development project in Cholo, Arizona. That is a mixed-use development project. We're going to start phase 1 is going to have about 200 storage units on it, and we're going to scale up to about 500 storage units. It's going to have an RV park in there. It's going to have a 190-unit affordable multifamily project, and we're working with the government to get some grants. Because this is like in the middle of nowhere. Get some grants, but there's a golf course and a lake right there. We're going to do about 195 manufactured homes. Affordable kind of cabiny manufactured homes on the site. Each one costs about $200 to put up, and we sell them for $200,000. And I wish it was $200. $200,000, and each one sells for about $300,000. There's about $100,000 profit margin on each one. This is $15 million in just the
physical build,
the manufactured portion of it. So it's a 3-phase project. I got a great partner. His name's Jerome Maldonado. He's a fantastic builder. He's done about 2,000 multifamily units from the ground up. Great builder. He's been in the concrete business for many years. He's our main development partner on that deal because this is the biggest development project we've ever done. I have a 5.5 acre that we're doing a lot of land entitlement stuff. I really love the land entitlement game, especially here in Arizona. My friend just did one and got his ass kicked in California. So I'm very grateful that we're here and not there because, there's some weird weed that only sprouts every 100 years in a wildfire that the California crazy people come and
couldn't do it.
He couldn't do it he's going to lose his ass. He's going to lose like almost $1 million.
Wow.
Pulling this deal together. He already had a buyer on the back end. It was a big industrial land entitlement deal. He had a buyer locked up from day one. Thought he had it in the bag. He was about to make like $5 million on the whole deal. And now he's $1 million in the hole, legal fees, and he's losing.
Right.
And it's like, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with a lot of that shit here.
Yeah. Well, but it's also the risk, right? It's scales of risk, and we can get into that. But what I did hear from you just then is the key word is partner. Like I hear a lot. I hear so much awesome stuff that I could talk to you for hours, and I've got to be very respectful of your time. But how do you manage it all? Like that's the big part. Like you mentioned to me, you're coming in here, you've done your cold plunge this morning, you hang out with your kids, you can do whatever the fuck you want, after midday. What is that key to success? You got your podcast, you got all these businesses. How do you keep all the puppets?
So first off, I didn't do anything but one thing for over a decade.
Right.
So that was phase one.
Right.
It's really hard for me to give people advice nowadays. If they try to mirror my world now, it's not going to work for them.
Sure.
I would say, what do you like if somebody came to me and said, oh, I'm cold plunging and I'm doing my morning routines and I'm meditating, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, get up at 3 a.m. and get on your computer and work and get a full day's work in before everybody else gets up, and do that for a decade.
Right.
And then you can earn a cold plunger too. Like that's how I was thinking back then, because I was a savage. It was like everything was a light switch for me. It was either on, I'm obsessed, laser focused, we do one thing. My mentor taught me, I had a mentor named Lyle Wall in the real estate space. He was the game changer for me. He was this old school, really wise Yoda type character. And Lyle would have all these crazy sayings, and he would say, yes gets you out of Egypt, but no takes you to the promised land. And it took me a while to really understand that. And he would then, if I didn't get that, he would go, listen, entrepreneurs die a death by 1,000 cuts. I'm like, okay, got it, Lyle, got it. And then he would say, starve the ponies and feed the stallions. Right? So he had all these sayings to get me, this knucklehead that had no business acumen, to like really be like, I can't do it all and do it great. I have to do one or two things and just focus on those for a very long period of time. So he kept redirecting me. My first 14 months in real estate sucked until I met Lyle. And then he just kept pushing me back into the lane and putting the blinders on me and saying, dude, this is all you got to do. Starve the ponies, feed the stallions. Starve the ponies, feed the stallions. And that's why my first 2.5, 3 years was just wholesaling until I got enough income coming in for me to afford to do the other stuff. But anyways, partnerships is the answer to your question. I have had 2 or 3 horrible partnerships in the beginning. They stole money from me. They sued me. They left me high and dry. They abused me. I swore I'll never have partners again. Fuck these people. I can't count on anybody. I'll just do it myself. And I realized that I am the worst person for the job 95% of the time. Like I have 1 or 2 tricks in my repertoire. But if I'm not doing those 1 or 2 things, I should not be leading the meetings. I should not be, going in the weeds, trying to figure out and doing customer support. I'm too much of an asshole. I burn relationships. People don't like me when I'm giving customer support. I'm like, what do you mean you're complaining? Man the fuck up. And I'm like the worst customer service person. So I realized what my strengths were, and that I needed to give partnerships another try. But this time I realized what I failed at. Because my first couple ones, it was I meet you at a RIA meeting. Oh, I'm doing short sales. Oh, I like short sales. Well, let's start a short sale business.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're in business with some person you don't even know.
Right.
When you're forming partnerships, you need 4 things. Okay?
Listen up, everyone.
Yeah, you need to know it very clearly. In my job as an entrepreneur is to enroll people. That's my superpower. And in order to successfully persuade and influence anybody, you have to have such clarity on where you're going and what you want out of it and all that stuff. So it's what do we do? How do we do it? Why do we do it? and what's in it for you if we do it together. And it's that last piece that most entrepreneurs fail in because it's a startup. We don't even know what is happening barely today, let alone a year from now. So it's really hard to like enroll somebody and say, dude, if you do this with me, here's what I'm going to give you and here's what's in it for you and all that stuff, because we're not even clear on it. And we're scared that, well, what if I promise them something and I overpromise and underdeliver? Or if whatever your fears are, maybe I'm going to give them something and then regret it later and want to take it back. I just realized that I used to wall people off and keep them at like arm's length and never really get to know them and just think like, look, we're partners. You think like I think and just do your damn job and we're fine.
Yeah.
That's not how people work. People have families. They have medical issues. They have family issues. They have kid issues. They have financial issues. And when I don't know that stuff, it's hard to keep people in alignment because on day one, everybody's kumbaya. But by month 18, everybody's moving out to the sides in the what's in it for me world. And so I had to keep reconnecting with my people, my core team, and realigning because every time I've got out of alignment, I've gotten fucked every single time. But if I can keep people in alignment with me and the vision and on the path and the very clear, like, hey, where do we need to be in a what's in it for you today? I know we talked a year ago, but like what's changed in your life? And so I started partying with I started doing deals with my best friends. I started partying with them. I started going deeper with them. We started breaking bread together. We started working out together. I was like kicking ass in business, but then we go to the gym and they'd kick my ass. And so all of a sudden it was like roles reversed and they loved it. And we formed like a brotherhood and a bond. So if you come to my compound right now, I have a 18,000 square foot compound and it's literally a compound. There's 6 suites, central courtyard area. All of our businesses are in this compound and everybody is broing out. It's all these real estate businesses and everybody's broing out. We meet in the middle and we barbecue and we're hanging out. And it's like this brotherhood of people all fighting this fight every single day. And when somebody's not doing well, we all rally around them, support them. And it's like, it's cool because the culture and the energy in our space is we're here to win. We're not here to fucking do C-level activities. We do big boy shit. We don't bring our monkeys in here. We don't bring our problems in here. At 6:30, we can go to the bar and drink some beers and cry in our beer and talk about all the world's problems. But when we're fucking here, we're here to dominate.
Yep.
And it's cool when everybody's been evolved to being that person because when I'm kind of slacking a little bit, they're like, Sperber, what the fuck? Step your game up, dude. Why are you moping around here? Like, we don't do that. Like, go back out in your car, reset, walk back in here with a winner's attitude. And it's like, oh shit, okay. This is like my customer service person talking to me like this. And I'm like, you're fucking right. Like, I'm not showing up here.
Right.
I need to set a better standard. And so
that's awesome.
That's how we've been able to do it. And through those strategic partnerships, I've been able to start a flooring company in the flooring space, the software company, the data company, the real estate businesses, now the large equity funds. Those are all done with partnerships. I am probably the least important piece of the puzzle in all of those businesses.
But the thing that I want everyone to listen to is that Cody didn't do that straight out of the gate. Because a lot of people hear that story and, even myself, wow, why aren't I doing that and all that sort of stuff? But it comes with time and understanding what your power is. So as we start to wrap up the show here, what is your superpower? Because you mentioned before that you have 3 things that you mentioned. Enrollment is your power. But what else is that you've realized over the years out of starting all these businesses and now aligning and creating this awesome compound? What is that you're the best that you can show up every day for and be like, I'm Cody, and this is what I'm going to bring to my team, and they know they can rely on it.
Yeah. So marketing, I smoke everybody in the marketing side of things, building a personal brand, marketing, direct response. I've sold over $100 million worth of education through video. I'm a great copywriter. I write all my own copy. So anything sales, right? Sales on video, sales through written word, persuasion, influence, enrolling. I called it enrolling. I've just really dialed in the process to really connect with people in a very short amount of time, get them on board with the vision, and or sell them something that I think that we both...
And that keeps you at the pinnacle of the company to help you know and then delegate to where you need to go.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Sales cures everything. It cures everything. We can go hire the best teams. We can figure everything out. But you have to have one person in the organization that's gunning on sales at the highest level, and that's like their mission in life. And if it's not me doing it, I'm enrolling other just fucking killers. And some of my sales guys are just, I watch them maneuver through the world. I'm like, holy shit, you're just like a gorilla. They're gorillas on the phones. They're gorillas in person. And I'm like, those are the people I want to surround myself with, because that sales energy is so contagious that you're just like, hell yeah, we're making it rain over here. The other superpower I would say is connecting. I am phenomenal. I realized very early on that as much as I'm out there and I do all my social media content and stuff, I'd much rather be wealthy than famous. And so I like being the guy behind the guy.
Yep.
And so I find the Pace Morbys of the world and I see their talent very early in their evolution. And I've been able to get out in front of it, either serve them or mentor them or connect them with the right people and cultivate them. And so as they evolve, I'm always kind of like riding their coattails, kind of along the way.
Shining the light rather than being in the spotlight. Is that what the old saying is?
Well, it's like what's real power?
Yeah.
What's real power? Is it the person up front or the person that gets that person to do things? You know? And it's just, I've always kind of been like, all right, I'm going to serve so hard to all of my friends and the people I see that have the potential and the talent. I'm going to serve them so hard and expect nothing back, but know that if there's ever a moment in the future that and normally what happens is I serve you really hard and I serve somebody else really hard. And then I see, oh, wow, if I connect them two, they're going to do beautiful things. And that always happens. They do wonderful things. So when I say, hey guys, I'm having an event, I'd love for you guys to come, serve at the event. You think you guys can help promote it and all that? I don't even have to say anything else. The next thing you know, I'm throwing a 3,000 or 4,000 person event making $9 million, which is what we did at our last Clever Summit. So, and I couldn't have done that if I didn't
have that energy and superpower.
Yep.
That's great. Last couple of questions before we wrap up the show. Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time as a sort of not too deep, but like you've come so far today? What's the next 10 years look like? If you're even thinking that far ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely thinking 5 years ahead. So I have that new business, Floor Daddy. It's in the home services space. We're making flooring sexy and cool. When I exited Clever Investor last year and I did well on the exit, I was like, damn, I held on to that company for a couple years too long. I should have sold it probably in like 2017 or 2018 when we were really at our peak. But I loved it. And I'm like, oh, that's, you said it right before this podcast started, to make $1 million, maybe even $100 million in real estate, very doable, very doable. But you want to become a billionaire, you got to do that in scaling and exiting big business. It's going to be very difficult to get there in anything else other than that. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible because I've had now 2 friends do it in real estate, but it's rare. And so I look at the home services space and I'm like, wow, private equity loves them. It's AI is not going to disrupt this industry. And it's the same skill set that I use to sell education, except for nobody hates me online, right? It's like people aren't bashing me for selling a course. It's like, no, I installed your floors, chill out. And it's an old business that nobody's disrupted in a long time. So we called it Floor Daddy because we wanted to take a sexy, fun approach to it. And I can envision Floor Daddy being a nationwide brand.
Franchises, all that sort of stuff.
And if you think about the model for a lot of these things is you run ads, whether it's TV, commercial, radio, or just Facebook or Instagram, YouTube content, that kind of stuff. You run an ad to a funnel, to a book a call, to an in-person appointment with a sales person that sells a high ticket item. Let me install floors in whatever rooms you need. And that model is the exact same thing I did to sell $100 million worth of online education.
Yep.
I'm like, so I have the skill set. Let's go ahead and run it. But now I'm going to do it in a scalable business that I can bring nationwide and really build a phenomenal brand that I think within 5 years, I have a vision that somebody's going to come and buy the company for $300 million. And that will be that moment where I come back on your show and I go, holy shit, I fucking did it. I cannot believe I was tunnel visioned in real estate for as long as I was when I already had those skills. My real estate was already popping. I had great partnership. I should have done this 5 or 6, 7 years earlier.
No, I completely agree. Some of the things we said in the green room was that whole evolution. But you've got to learn something like you did with wholesaling. You maybe stayed there for too long, but you've learned something to then apply to a different set of your business. You then learn again, you keep pivoting and keep being that surfer on the wave. So I'm freaking excited to see you keep crushing it, my friends. So look, I want to thank you for jumping on today's show. I want to just let you have a chance. Where can people reach you to continue the conversation? They'll be in your sphere. Where do they go?
Yeah, at official Cody Sperber is my Instagram. Would love to have you on there. It's a new Instagram page. When I sold Clever Investor, I sold my at Clever Investor Instagram page, which had over 1 million followers, and I started over. By the way, love starting over. It's like unbelievable. Imagine for a second if you had tons of money and it was like, okay, what's version 2.0 look like? It's like, wow, I get to be anything I want online. I could start over. And by the way, the algorithm likes that you start over. If you're struggling with your social content right now and you're just like, it's not breaking through the algorithm, don't be scared to like curb that. Yeah. Right. I had a bunch of fake bots and shit that ended up on my page. Like all these, every time I posted, I hate where social's going right now. The amount of like porn and sexual content of all these bots. It's like I post on Instagram on my old page and like 50 porn bots are like on the comments. And I'm like, or it's selling Forex or Bitcoin. And I'm like, what is this? Where did this come from? This is awful. My new page doesn't have any of that shit. So it's awesome. It's like a fresh start. I put out a post and I'll get, between 20,000 to 100,000 accounts reached on a tiny little thing that has 30,000, 35,000 followers on it versus an account that has 1,000,001 followers on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at official Cody Sperber. And then really, if you're an accredited investor and you want to learn more about what we have going on, you want to participate in our equity fund, you can, it's a 10, 12, 14% equity fund. So we have fantastic options for people. You got to be accredited. And go to clevercapitalfund.com. You can learn more about it. We're going to launch that fund probably by the time this podcast airs. That fund will be out, and we'll have lots of educational content around what we're doing so you can get to know us and see if I just bought 2 banks. I love the bank business. Think about banks right now. I paid $2 million for one and $2.2 million for another one. One in Mesa, Arizona, and one in Tucson, and I have 2 more banks that I'm bidding on right now. Think about banks. They're downsizing their branches into grocery stores and other things. People are moving online. They don't need these massive big branches anymore, but banks always have the best real estate with the highest traffic in front of them a lot of times, right? And so 100,000 cars goes in front of the old Wells Fargo that I purchased. And so I'm actually converting that into a credit union right now. We're working through some exclusions and some other stuff with banks put deed restrictions in that you can't turn it into one of their competitor banks, but they will give you an exclusion for a lesser than maybe like a credit union or something like that. So as long as we get that exclusion, we'll turn it into a credit union. It'll be about a 5.25 cap by the time we're done. So I'll turn a $2 million thing into a $4 million thing. It's a beautiful, put about $100,000 worth of TI in it. That's it. So it'll take me 12 months to go through working with the city and doing the TIs and all that stuff. We'll have $20,000 a month coming in this thing. We'll sell it at a 5.25 cap or something like that, and almost double our money. And then the other bank where we have LOIs in from a couple big, I don't want to say them on here, but a gas station convenience store combo that you would know. Yep. It's just a lot of entitlement and repurposing the old land. We'll tear down that bank, build the gas station on there, and I want to go buy like 50 more banks. I love that business model.
So one of the things, and just wrapping the show, but I'm actually in same thing, but doing with a medical provider in Texas. So go and you buy these banks, you bring the medical provider in, they sign a 20-year lease.
So is it like a single tenant, triple net thing? Yeah,
I love that. And you're buying it at 8-9 caps because the bank's pissed off and they're not there anymore. TI is nothing, right? And then you come in and you sell it at like a 6 or a 7 cap to that next person.
Beautiful.
And the fact that you've already got the tenant signing a 20-year lease because it's a medical group who've done 12 other spaces in the area. I'm like, that's the thing.
It's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we're doing. So don't steal my idea. Instead, come besides you, just put money into our funds and stuff so we can go buy a bunch of these. And I think that in commercial, that will be, besides some of the big development plays, those will be what we really focus on over the next couple of years. And I need a lot of money to go do that.
No, hey man, you're on your way. I want to thank you so much for jumping on today's show. I just want to reflect some of the things that I took away from today's show. I think your story coming from, a kid who sounded like he had a bit of, chip on the shoulder, wanted to go out and improve the world, and then went and built what you've built today is pretty freaking awesome. And then to continue to be able to pick up the crumbs of success as you've learnt new skill sets, I think is really, really a fundamental takeaway from today's show, because not many people understand that when you're in the vision and the lane and all those things, starve the ponies, feed the stallions, that you're going to start picking up skill sets you can use in other businesses. And it doesn't take a leap of faith. It takes just a slight pivot of what you already know and do to go and create another 100 million, 200 million, $1 billion worth of business. And I think that is the key. And just, the energy sitting here in the room today, I think you're absolutely crushing it. But did I leave anything out?
No, dude, thank you for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Mate, my pleasure. Again, everyone who's listening online, remember to go check out official Cody Sperber on Instagram, and you want to go check out clevercapitalfund.com, correct? Wherever you are, thank you again for tuning in to continue to grow your financial IQ. It's what we do here on this show each and every week. The easiest way to give back is to give it a 5-star review on iTunes. Remember, you can check out all the show notes from today's show up on my website at readgoossens.com. And we're going to do this all again next week. So remember, be bold, be brave, and go give life a crack.